Lisa had been counting down the days for almost 2 months. Every time she passed by the elegant storefront of Crystal Beauty Salon, she would slow down just a little to peek through those spotless glass windows. The place looked like something out of a magazine with its gold accents and perfectly arranged displays. She had never imagined herself actually walking through those doors until her daughter's prom came up. Her daughter Maya was turning 17 next month, and prom was just around the corner. Lisa remembered her own prom night 20 years ago. She had done her own hair in their tiny bathroom mirror and borrowed her cousin's lipstick. It wasn't fancy, but she had felt beautiful that night. Now she wanted to give Maya something special, something she would remember forever. Working as a night shift cleaner at the medical center wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills. Lisa had been picking up extra shifts for weeks, sometimes working 12 hours straight just to save enough money for this one special day. Her back ached constantly, and her hands were rough from all the cleaning chemicals, but every dollar she saved brought her closer to making Maya's dream come true. The appointment had cost more than Lisa spent on groceries in a month. When she first called to book it, her heart nearly stopped when they told her the price. She had to ask them to repeat it twice, but the way Maya's eyes lit up when she told her about the appointment made every extra hour of work worth it. They would both get the full treatment: hair, makeup, and nails. Maya had been talking about it nonstop for weeks. On the morning of their appointment, Lisa stood in front of her closet for 15 minutes trying to decide what to wear. Everything she owned was either work clothes or casual clothes that had seen better days. She finally settled on her black pants and the nicest blouse she had, the one she wore to parent-teacher conferences. It wasn't much, but it was clean and presentable. Maya was practically bouncing with excitement as they walked down the main street toward the salon. She had her phone out, already planning to document every moment of their fancy spa day. Lisa smiled, watching her daughter's enthusiasm, though she felt a flutter of nervousness in her stomach. This wasn't her world, but she was determined to enjoy it for Maya's sake. The salon sat on the corner of the most expensive shopping district in town. Lisa had driven past this area countless times on her way to work, but she had never actually stopped to look around. The sidewalks were pristine, the storefronts gleamed, and even the trash cans looked expensive. She could see why appointments here cost so much. When they approached the salon entrance, Lisa took a deep breath. The door was heavy glass with brass handles that probably cost more than her weekly paycheck. Maya rushed ahead and pulled it open, the excitement written all over her face. A soft chime announced their arrival, and immediately Lisa was hit with the scent of expensive perfumes and hair products. The interior was even more impressive than what she had glimpsed from the street. The floors were made of white marble with gold veins running through them. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting tiny rainbows on the walls when the light hit them just right. Soft classical music played in the background, and the whole place had an air of luxury that made Lisa feel like she was in a movie. Maya gasped audibly when she saw the interior. Her eyes went wide as she took in every detail, from the plush velvet chairs in the waiting area to the gold-framed mirrors that lined the walls. She immediately started taking pictures, trying to capture the beauty of the place. Lisa watched her daughter's joy and felt proud that she had been able to give her this experience. The receptionist behind the front desk looked like she had stepped out of a fashion magazine. Her hair was perfectly styled, her makeup flawless, and her outfit probably cost more than Lisa made in a week. She looked up from her computer screen with a professional smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Lisa approached the desk, suddenly very aware of her simple outfit and her hands that showed the signs of hard work. She cleared her throat softly and gave her name for their appointment. The receptionist checked her computer, her perfectly manicured nails clicking against the keyboard. After a moment, she nodded and asked them to take a seat in the waiting area. The waiting area was like a luxury hotel lobby. The chairs were so soft that Lisa felt like she might sink right into them. There were magazines spread out on a glass coffee table, but these weren't the usual magazines she saw at the doctor's office. These were high-end fashion magazines with covers featuring models in designer clothes that cost more than Lisa's car. Maya was still taking pictures, being careful not to disturb any of the other clients who were waiting. Lisa noticed that everyone else in the salon looked like they belonged there. Their clothes, their jewelry, their confident way of carrying themselves, it all screamed money and status. Lisa felt a bit out of place, but she reminded herself that she had every right to be there. She had worked hard for this, and Maya deserved to feel special. Other clients came and went while they waited. Lisa watched as women in designer handbags and expensive shoes were greeted by name by the staff. Everyone seemed to know each other, like they were part of some exclusive club. Lisa wondered if this was how the other half lived all the time, surrounded by luxury and treated like royalty wherever they went. After about 10 minutes, a stylist approached them. She was younger than Lisa, probably in her late 20s, with the kind of effortless beauty that made Lisa wonder if she had ever had a bad hair day in her life. She introduced herself with a warm smile and asked if they were ready to begin their transformation. Maya practically jumped out of her chair with excitement. Lisa felt her nervousness melt away a little as she saw how happy her daughter was. This was what she had worked so hard for, this moment of pure joy on Maya's face. Whatever happened next, she knew she had made the right choice in bringing them here. As they were led deeper into the salon, Lisa took one last look around the waiting area. In a few hours, they would be walking out of here looking and feeling like completely different people. She had no idea that before this day was over, she would indeed be seen in a completely different light, just not in the way she expected. The first hour at the salon had been like a dream come true. Maya was getting her hair washed at one station while Lisa sat in a chair getting a facial treatment that made her skin feel softer than it had in years. The staff members were professional and friendly, explaining each step of the process as they worked. Lisa had started to relax, thinking that maybe she did belong here after all. Maya was having the time of her life. Her stylist was creating loose curls that framed her face perfectly, and she kept turning her head to see different angles in the mirror. Every few minutes, she would catch her mother's eye in the reflection and give her a huge smile. Lisa felt her heart swell with happiness watching her daughter feel so beautiful and confident. The salon was busy that Saturday afternoon. Well-dressed women came and went, their conversations mixing with the gentle hum of hairdryers and the soft music playing overhead. Lisa found herself relaxing into the luxury of it all. For once, she wasn't thinking about work schedules or bills or all the things she needed to fix around their small apartment. She was just enjoying this special moment with her daughter. Maya's hair was nearly finished when she asked to use the restroom. Her stylist pointed toward the back of the salon, past a display area where they showcased their most expensive hair care products. Lisa watched her daughter carefully navigate between the styling chairs, being extra careful not to bump into anyone or anything. The product display was impressive, even by the salon's high standards. Bottles and jars were arranged on glass shelves in a pyramid formation, each one probably costing more than Lisa spent on groceries in a week. The packaging was sleek and elegant, with gold lettering and sophisticated designs that screamed luxury and exclusivity. Maya had made it past the display safely and was on her way back from the restroom when it happened. She was looking at her reflection in one of the many mirrors lining the hallway, admiring how her new hairstyle looked from the side. She turned to get a better view and didn't see the small step that separated the display area from the main walkway. Her foot caught on the edge of the step, and she stumbled forward, trying to catch her balance. For a moment it looked like she might recover, but her shoulder brushed against the bottom shelf of the product display, and everything seemed to happen in slow motion after that. The first bottle wobbled, then fell. It hit the shelf below it, knocking over 2 more bottles. Those crashed into the ones beside them, creating a domino effect that Lisa watched in horror from across the salon. Bottles rolled off shelves, crashing onto the marble floor and shattering into pieces. The sound echoed through the salon like gunshots. The entire salon went silent. Hairdryers stopped buzzing. Conversations ended mid-sentence. Even the soft background music seemed to fade away as everyone turned to look at the source of the commotion. Maya stood frozen in the middle of the mess, her face turning bright red as she realized what had happened. Glass covered the floor around her feet. Expensive creams and serums had spilled everywhere, creating a slippery, aromatic mess that was spreading across the white marble. The smell was overwhelming, a mixture of different perfumes and chemicals that made Lisa's eyes water from across the room. Maya looked like she might cry. She stood perfectly still, afraid to move in case she made things worse. Her beautiful new hairstyle seemed forgotten as she stared at the destruction around her. Lisa could see her daughter's hands shaking as the reality of the situation sank in. Before Lisa could even get out of her chair to go to Maya, the salon manager appeared as if from nowhere. She was a tall woman in her 50s with steel gray hair pulled back in a tight bun, and an expression that could freeze water. Her expensive suit and perfectly applied makeup did nothing to soften the cold anger in her eyes as she surveyed the damage. The manager's voice cut through the silence like a knife. She didn't even look at Maya as a person, just at the mess surrounding her. Her words were sharp and loud enough for everyone in the salon to hear clearly. She called Maya careless and clumsy, her voice getting louder with each accusation. Other clients started whispering among themselves, turning in their chairs to get a better look at the drama unfolding before them. Some had their phones out, probably taking pictures or videos. Lisa could feel dozens of eyes on them, judging them, finding them lacking. The shame burned in her chest as she watched her daughter become the center of unwanted attention. The manager wasn't finished. She began listing the products that had been destroyed, naming each one along with its price. The numbers she quoted made Lisa's stomach drop. $100 bottles of shampoo, $200 hair masks, $500 serums that promised to reverse aging and transform damaged hair into silk. Maya tried to apologize, her voice barely above a whisper. But the manager wasn't interested in apologies. She wanted payment, and she wanted it immediately. She pulled out a calculator and started adding up the damage, her fingers moving quickly across the numbers as she tallied the cost of each broken bottle. The final total made Lisa's blood run cold. $3,200. It was more money than she made in 2 months of working nights at the medical center. It was more than she had in her savings account, more than she could possibly come up with on short notice. The manager stood there with her arms crossed, tapping her foot impatiently as she waited for a response. Her expression made it clear that she expected immediate payment and wasn't interested in hearing about payment plans or financial difficulties. As far as she was concerned, Maya had destroyed expensive property, and someone needed to pay for it right now. Lisa felt the weight of every eye in the salon on her family. She could hear the whispered conversation starting up again, could feel the judgment and disapproval radiating from the other clients. Some were shaking their heads in disapproval. Others were looking at them with a mixture of pity and disdain. Maya looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. Her special day had turned into a nightmare, and Lisa could see the guilt and shame written all over her daughter's face. The beautiful curls that had made her so happy just minutes before now seemed meaningless in the face of this disaster. The manager was still talking, her voice getting sharper as she explained the salon's policies about damaged merchandise. She mentioned lawyers and legal action if payment wasn't received immediately. Her words hit Lisa like physical blows as she realized just how serious this situation had become. Lisa's mind raced as she tried to figure out what to do. She didn't have $3,000. She couldn't even put that much on a credit card because she didn't have one with a limit that high. The money she had saved for this special day wouldn't even cover a tenth of what they were demanding. As she sat there in her styling chair, still wearing the salon's cape with her hair half finished, Lisa felt the familiar weight of being judged for not having enough money. It was a feeling she knew well from years of struggling to make ends meet, but it had never felt as sharp or as public as it did in this moment. Lisa took a deep breath and slowly removed the cape from around her shoulders. Her movements were deliberate and calm, which seemed strange to everyone watching. Most people in her situation would have been panicking, arguing, or making excuses, but Lisa simply folded the cape neatly and placed it on the arm of her chair before standing up. The salon manager was still talking, her voice getting more aggressive by the minute. She was explaining the salon's zero-tolerance policy for damaged merchandise and threatening to call security if immediate payment wasn't arranged. Her words echoed off the marble walls, making sure everyone in the salon could hear every detail of the confrontation. Maya stood frozen among the broken glass and spilled products, tears starting to form in her eyes. She kept looking between her mother and the angry manager, clearly overwhelmed by the situation. Her special day had turned into her worst nightmare, and she felt responsible for putting her family in this impossible position. Lisa walked slowly across the salon floor, her footsteps quiet but somehow commanding attention. Other clients turned in their chairs to watch her approach, expecting to see either a tearful apology or an angry outburst. Instead, they saw something unexpected, a woman who seemed completely in control despite the chaos around her. When Lisa reached her daughter, she gently placed a protective arm around Maya's shoulders. The simple gesture immediately made Maya feel safer. even though their situation hadn't changed. Lisa's presence had a calming effect that seemed to spread outward from where they stood. The manager continued her angry lecture, but Lisa didn't interrupt or defend herself. She simply listened, her expression neutral and attentive. This wasn't what the manager expected. Most people would have been arguing back by now, making excuses or pleading for mercy. Lisa's calm attention was somehow more unnerving than any angry response would have been. When the manager finally paused to take a breath, Lisa spoke for the first time since the incident began. Her voice was quiet but clear, carrying easily through the now silent salon. She didn't sound defensive or apologetic. Instead, she sounded like someone who was used to being listened to. She told the manager that she understood accidents happen and that how people handled them says a lot about their character. Her words were simple, but there was something in her tone that made everyone pay attention. She wasn't backing down, but she wasn't being aggressive either. She was simply stating facts. Lisa then did something that surprised everyone. She asked to see the receipts for the damaged products. Not in an angry way, not making accusations, just a simple request to verify the actual cost of the items. Her request was reasonable, but the way she made it suggested she knew more about business than anyone had given her credit for. The manager seemed caught off guard by this request. She started explaining that the products were special imports, exclusive items that couldn't be found anywhere else. She insisted that the prices she had quoted were accurate and that receipts weren't necessary since the damage was obvious. But Lisa's steady gaze never wavered. She listened to the explanations with the same calm attention she had shown before. But something in her expression suggested she wasn't entirely convinced. She asked again, politely but firmly, to see some kind of documentation for the prices being claimed. Other clients in the salon started paying closer attention to the conversation. A few were exchanging glances as if they were beginning to question the manager's claims themselves. The atmosphere in the salon was shifting from judgment of Lisa and Maya to curiosity about what was really happening. The manager's voice became more defensive as she insisted that her word should be sufficient proof of the product's value. She mentioned the salon's reputation and her years of experience in the beauty industry. But Lisa continued to wait patiently for actual documentation, her request hanging in the air unanswered. Lisa then mentioned that she was quite familiar with wholesale beauty supply costs through her work. She didn't elaborate on what that work was, but the way she said it suggested she knew more about the industry than her appearance might suggest. The manager's expression began to change as she realized this wasn't going to be as simple as she had expected. Maya watched her mother with growing amazement. She had never seen this side of her before, this quiet confidence and authority that seemed to command respect without demanding it. Her mother wasn't raising her voice or making threats, but somehow she had completely changed the dynamic of the situation. The manager was beginning to look uncomfortable. She kept insisting that the prices were correct and that payment needed to be made immediately, but her voice lacked the confident aggression it had held before. Lisa's calm questioning had planted seeds of doubt in the minds of everyone watching. Lisa pulled out her phone and asked the manager if she minded if she made a quick call to verify some information. Again, it was a polite request, but something in her manner suggested it wasn't really a question. The manager tried to object, saying that phone calls weren't going to change the facts of the situation. But Lisa was already dialing. She spoke quietly into the phone, asking for someone named James. The conversation was brief and professional, and Lisa's tone suggested she was speaking to someone who knew her well and respected her opinion. She mentioned the salon by name and asked for immediate assistance with the situation. The manager's face began to lose some of its color as she listened to Lisa's phone call. Other staff members had gathered nearby, sensing that something significant was happening. The regular salon chatter had completely stopped, and even clients who had been in the middle of treatments were paying attention to the unfolding drama. When Lisa ended her call, she turned back to the manager with the same calm expression she had maintained throughout the entire confrontation. She mentioned that someone would be arriving shortly to help resolve the situation, and suggested that it might be a good time to locate those product receipts she had requested. The manager tried to maintain her authority, insisting that outside interference wasn't necessary and that the matter could be settled immediately with payment. But there was a nervousness in her voice now that hadn't been there before. She was beginning to realize that she might have misjudged the situation. Maya looked up at her mother with new eyes. She was seeing a side of Lisa that she had never witnessed before, a quiet strength and confidence that seemed to transform her from a struggling single mother into someone who commanded respect and attention. It was as if her mother had been hiding her true self beneath the humble exterior she showed to the world. The other clients in the salon were whispering among themselves, speculating about who Lisa might be and what was about to happen. The atmosphere had completely changed from judgment and entertainment to anticipation and uncertainty. Everyone sensed that there was more to this story than anyone had initially realized. Lisa continued to stand calmly beside her daughter, her arm still protectively around Maya's shoulders. She wasn't gloating or threatening, just waiting patiently for whatever was about to unfold. Her composure was remarkable given the stress of the situation, and it was beginning to have an effect on everyone around her. The manager kept glancing toward the front of the salon, as if she was expecting someone to arrive at any moment. Her earlier confidence had evaporated, replaced by a growing anxiety about what Lisa's phone call might have set in motion. The balance of power in the salon had shifted completely, though no one quite understood how or why. The heavy glass door of the salon opened with its familiar chime, but this time the sound seemed to cut through the tension like a knife. A well-dressed man in his 50s walked in, his expensive suit and confident stride immediately commanding attention from everyone in the salon. He looked around the room with sharp, assessing eyes before his gaze settled on Lisa. The man's face broke into a warm smile when he saw her, and he walked directly over to where she stood with Maya. His greeting was respectful and familiar, the kind reserved for someone important. He called her Dr. Chen and asked if everything was all right, his concern genuine and immediate. The manager's face went completely white when she heard the title. Dr. Chen, not Mrs. Chen, not Ms. Chen, but doctor. The realization hit her like a physical blow, and she suddenly understood that she had made a terrible mistake in her assumptions about this family. Lisa thanked the man, who introduced himself as James Rodriguez, the regional manager for the luxury hotel chain that owned the Salon. His presence immediately changed the atmosphere in the room. Staff members straightened up. Other clients looked on with new interest, and the salon manager seemed to shrink into herself. James asked Lisa to explain what had happened, and she calmly recounted the incident without any exaggeration or emotion. She described Maya's accident, the manager's response, and the demand for immediate payment of over $3,000. Her tone remained professional and factual, letting the events speak for themselves. When she finished, James turned to the salon manager and asked to see the documentation for the claimed damages. His request wasn't a polite suggestion like Lisa's had been. It was clearly an order from someone with authority. The manager stammered and made excuses, but James continued to wait patiently for the paperwork. While they waited, James explained to Lisa that he knew her through her work at the children's hospital. She wasn't just any doctor. She was the head of pediatric surgery and had saved his nephew's life 2 years earlier during a complicated heart operation. His family would never forget what she had done for them. Maya listened in amazement as she learned things about her mother that she had never known. She knew her mom worked at the hospital, but she had always thought she was just a regular nurse or maybe a medical assistant. She had no idea that her mother was a surgeon, let alone the head of an entire department. The revelation sent whispers through the salon as other clients began to understand what was happening. This wasn't just a working mother struggling to pay for her daughter's prom preparation. This was a respected surgeon being treated poorly based on assumptions about her appearance and social status. James continued sharing information that painted Lisa in an entirely different light. She served on the hospital's board of directors and was known throughout the medical community for her skill and dedication. She had performed hundreds of life-saving operations and had trained some of the best pediatric surgeons in the region. But there was more. James mentioned that Lisa was also the daughter of Dr. William Chen, a legendary surgeon who had established one of the most important medical foundations in the city before his death 5 years earlier. The foundation had donated millions of dollars to local charities and medical research programs. The manager finally returned with a folder of papers, her hands visibly shaking as she handed them to James. He reviewed the documents carefully, his expression growing more serious with each page. After several minutes, he looked up with a grim expression and asked to speak with the manager privately. Their conversation was brief but intense. Although they spoke in low voices, it was clear that James was not happy with what he had discovered. The manager's face grew paler with each exchange, and she kept glancing nervously at Lisa and Maya. When they finished talking, James returned to Lisa with an apology and an explanation that shocked everyone in the salon. The investigation had revealed that the products Maya had knocked over were standard salon supplies, not the exclusive imports the manager had claimed. The actual wholesale cost of everything that was damaged was less than $150. But the revelation was even more disturbing than the inflated prices. James explained that the manager had been running this same scam for months, deliberately overcharging customers for damages and pocketing the difference. She had targeted families who appeared to be struggling financially, knowing they would be less likely to question her claims or demand documentation. The salon fell completely silent as the implications of this news sank in. Everyone understood that they had witnessed something much bigger than a simple accident. They had seen the exposure of a deliberate fraud that had been victimizing people for months. Maya felt a mix of relief and anger as she realized what had almost happened to them. If her mother hadn't been who she was, if she hadn't known how to handle the situation, they would have been forced to pay thousands of dollars they didn't have for an accident that should have cost less than $150. James assured Lisa that the salon would cover all costs related to the accident and that the manager would face appropriate consequences for her actions. He also mentioned that the hotel chain would be conducting a full investigation into the salon's practices to ensure that no other customers had been victimized. The other clients in the salon were buzzing with conversation as they processed what they had witnessed. Several approached Lisa to apologize for their earlier assumptions and to express their admiration for how she had handled the situation. They realized that they had been quick to judge based on appearances and had learned a valuable lesson about not making assumptions about people. Lisa's transformation in their eyes was complete. The woman they had initially seen as out of place in their exclusive salon was revealed to be someone far more accomplished and respected than any of them. Her simple clothes and modest manner had hidden the fact that she was one of the most important doctors in the city. Maya looked at her mother with new respect and understanding. She was beginning to realize that her mother's decision to bring her to this expensive salon hadn't been a financial stretch motivated by love. It had been a choice to spend money she could easily afford on making her daughter feel special. The sacrifice she thought her mother had made was actually just a small gesture from someone who could have afforded much more. The manager stood off to the side, her earlier arrogance completely gone. She knew that her career at the salon was over, and that she would likely face legal consequences for her fraudulent activities. Her attempt to intimidate and overcharge what she thought was a vulnerable family had backfired spectacularly. James offered to have Lisa and Maya's salon services completed at no charge, with a different stylist handling their treatments. He wanted to ensure that their special day wasn't completely ruined by one person's misconduct. His gesture was sincere and generous, reflecting the respect he had for Lisa both personally and professionally. As the immediate crisis was resolved, Lisa remained calm and gracious throughout. She hadn't used her position to intimidate anyone or to seek revenge. Instead, she had simply stood up for what was right and had allowed the truth to speak for itself. Her handling of the situation had been a masterclass in quiet dignity and strength. The next few minutes in the salon were unlike anything anyone there had ever experienced. James had just finished explaining the full extent of the manager's fraudulent activities, and everyone was waiting to see what would happen next. The manager stood in the corner, clearly expecting to be fired on the spot and possibly arrested. But Lisa surprised everyone once again. Instead of demanding harsh punishment, she asked to speak with the manager privately. James looked uncertain about this request, but Lisa's calm insistence persuaded him to allow it. The two women stepped into a quiet corner of the salon, while everyone else watched with curiosity. Maya couldn't hear what her mother was saying, but she could see the conversation's effect on the manager. The woman who had been so aggressive and hostile just minutes before was now listening intently, tears forming in her eyes. Lisa's voice was gentle but firm as she spoke, her words clearly having a profound impact. When they finished talking, the manager walked over to Maya with tears streaming down her face. Her apology was heartfelt and genuine, Nothing like the professional politeness she had shown earlier. She admitted that she had been wrong to treat them poorly, and that her actions had been driven by her own prejudices and financial desperation. The manager explained that she had been struggling with mounting medical bills for her sick mother, and had convinced herself that taking extra money from insurance claims and damage charges was justified. She knew it was wrong, but she had felt trapped by her circumstances. Lisa's kindness in this moment of accountability had shown her a different way to handle difficult situations. Lisa listened to the manager's explanation with compassion, understanding the desperation that could drive someone to make poor choices. She didn't excuse the woman's actions, but she recognized the human struggle behind them. Her response was to offer help rather than punishment. What happened next shocked everyone in the salon even more than anything that had come before. Lisa announced that instead of pursuing legal action, she wanted to create something positive from this negative situation. She was going to establish a scholarship fund that would provide beauty services for young people before important events like proms, graduations, and job interviews. The scholarship would be funded through her father's foundation and would ensure that financial circumstances would never prevent a young person from feeling confident and beautiful on their special day. The program would operate through salons across the city, giving students access to professional hair, makeup, and nail services when they needed them most. James was amazed by Lisa's response and immediately offered the hotel chain support for the program. Several other salon clients who had witnessed the events also stepped forward to contribute, inspired by Lisa's example of turning a negative situation into something that would help others. The manager asked if she could be involved in the program as a way to make amends for her actions. Lisa agreed, seeing an opportunity for the woman to rebuild her reputation while helping young people. The manager's first-hand experience with the pressures that had led to her poor choices would actually make her valuable in screening applicants for the scholarship. Maya watched all of this unfold with growing amazement. She was seeing her mother in a completely new light, understanding for the first time the kind of person she really was. Lisa wasn't just a skilled surgeon. She was someone who consistently chose compassion over revenge and saw opportunities to help others even in difficult situations. As the immediate drama resolved, the salon staff worked to clean up the broken glass and spilled products. Other clients began to relax and return to their treatments, but the atmosphere in the salon had permanently changed. Everyone had witnessed something extraordinary, and the conversations buzzing around the room reflected their new understanding of what had happened. Lisa and Maya were moved to a private area of the salon where they could complete their treatments in peace. A senior stylist took over their care, making sure that their special day would end on a positive note. The woman was honored to work with Dr. Chen and made sure that every detail of their services was perfect. As Maya's hair was being finished, she finally had a chance to talk privately with her mother. She had so many questions about the life her mother had hidden from her. Lisa explained that she had always tried to keep her work and home life separate, wanting Maya to have a normal childhood without the pressure that could come from being the daughter of a prominent surgeon. Lisa shared stories about her work at the hospital and her father's foundation that Maya had never heard before. She explained that the modest way they lived wasn't because they had to, but because she believed in the importance of staying grounded and connected to people from all walks of life. Her own father had taught her that privilege came with responsibility to help others. Maya began to understand why her mother had always been so calm under pressure and so good at solving problems. These weren't just personality traits. They were skills she had developed through years of making life and death decisions in operating rooms. The crisis at the salon had been stressful, but it was nothing compared to the challenges Lisa faced at work every day. When their treatments were finally complete, both Lisa and Maya looked absolutely stunning. Maya's hair was perfect for her prom, and Lisa's understated elegance showed off her natural beauty. But more importantly, they both felt transformed by the day's events in ways that had nothing to do with their appearance. As they prepared to leave the salon, several clients approached them to express their admiration and to apologize for their initial judgments. The incident had taught everyone important lessons about not making assumptions based on appearances and about the power of responding to adversity with grace and wisdom. James walked them to the door personally, reiterating his gratitude for Lisa's work and his family's debt to her. He promised that the scholarship program would be implemented quickly and that the Salon would be the first location to participate. The manager, who would be staying on under strict supervision, thanked Lisa again for her unexpected mercy. Outside the salon, Maya looked at her mother with new eyes. She realized that the woman she had always seen as just her hard-working mom was actually someone extraordinary who had chosen to live humbly despite her success. The love and sacrifice she had always attributed to financial struggle was actually the result of deliberate choices about what kind of life they wanted to live. As they walked home together, Maya felt proud not just of how beautiful she looked for her prom, but of who her mother was and who she herself might become. The day had started as a simple beauty appointment, and it turned into a life lesson about integrity, compassion, and the importance of standing up for what's right. The scholarship program that grew out of that day's events would go on to help hundreds of young people over the years. And the manager, given a second chance she never expected, would become one of its most dedicated advocates. Sometimes the most powerful changes come from the most unexpected moments, when ordinary situations reveal extraordinary character.